Hey, so today I'm going to teach you how to pan roast a chicken breast like you're going to have to do on your Nocti and your practical. But I thought, why not also teach you how to stuff a chicken breast? So I have some stuffing stuff here. I have some mushrooms, some fresh mushrooms, some baby bellas, some dried tomatoes, some locatelli cheese, garlic. I have a bag of spinach, and I also have some dry porcini mushrooms. And so I don't have a recipe. I'm not going to lie. I'm just going to put this stuffing together, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And this is the kind of thing that you don't always need a recipe for. To get started though, before I start prepping this, these dry porcini mushrooms, what I need to do is rehydrate them. And if you notice, there's not a lot. Porcini mushrooms are so strong. Like, I can smell them just standing here. And so all I'm going to do is take my kettle with some hot water and just pour it on top, and you don't need a lot. Now, this is going to sit for about 10 minutes, and what's going to happen is they are going to start rehydrating. And then you can also use that liquid. You can like add that to your stock to add like a nice umami kind of flavor. I am going to cover it with saran wrap and push it down so they stay under the liquid so they get fully dehydrated, or fully hydrated, not dehydrated. And I'm just going to put that aside. And then I'm going to chop up my mushrooms rather small because they have to go into a stuffing. I'm going to make slices of sun-dried tomatoes. Also, when you buy sun-dried tomatoes, they should look like this. If they look like, I don't know where the ones are that we have around here. If they look like dark brown or black, it means that they like overcook them. And so, yeah, you want ones that look like this. Locatelli cheese I'm going to grate, and I'm going to slice this down like they did in the movie Goodfellas. Okay, let's get this prepped. Okay, so everything is prepped up, and so my mushrooms, if they were really big, I quartered them, excuse me, and then sliced them. If they were really small like this, I just sliced them down. If they were kind of medium, I just cut them in half and sliced them. Basically, they have to be small enough that we can stuff a chicken with them, and they're going to get smaller because they're 2/3 water anyway. I sliced up my sun-dried tomatoes. I just rough chopped my dried porcinis. I sliced my garlic, and I grated my locatelli cheese, and I still have this beautiful, beautiful rehydrating liquid from the porcinis, which we will use later. Okay, let's get this stuff in the pan and start cooking it. See you in a minute. So here we are at the range, and this is a cold pan, and just to prove it, like, I haven't turned anything on yet. We're gonna start out with some nice olive oil. And we are going to take our garlic, and we're just going to put it in here, and we're going to turn this on a medium-high heat. And the reason that you start garlic in a cold pan is because you don't want to burn it. If you put it into a hot pan straight away, it would burn before it cooked at all. So all that I'm going to do is I'm going to let this come up to temperature slowly. I'm going to stir it around a little bit, and then when it's brown, we'll go from there. See you in a minute. As you can see, our garlic is starting to get a little toasty. It's starting to get a little brown around the edges. Now I turned it down from medium high to like medium low, which is like number 4 on my range. Everybody has a different magic number where things like brown really nice and slow. So at this point, so I don't overcook it, I'm gonna add the mushrooms. And mushrooms, like I said earlier, are like 2/3 water. And so this is going to, this should stop the browning process of the garlic. And if you're afraid that it's not stopping the browning process, you can take it off the heat like this, add a liquid like white wine or chicken stock, or even just water, with your parents' permission, of course, for the wine, that is. And that will automatically stop the cooking process. And now I'm going to crank the heat back up to medium high or high, and that will cook off the liquid and maybe brown the mushrooms slightly and cook everything down. I'll see you in a couple minutes when this is done. So these aren't done cooking yet, but I started the camera again because I wanted you to see how much liquid came out of them. And this is on high, and I haven't really stirred them at all, but there's so much water in mushrooms. And you don't want a lot of water in your stuffing. So what we're going to do is I am going to cook these until almost all the water is gone. And then we're going to go on to our next step. Okay? I'll see you when that's done. Did you hear the sound change? Because when you're about to run out of liquid, the sound gets higher. And so at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to stir them. And you can see most of the liquid is gone. And if we separate them, there's really no liquid in there. So this is the point that they're going to start caramelizing, but they can also go from caramelizing to over caramelizing very quickly. And you can, like as I talk, the sound is getting louder and louder and louder. And that's because there's no more moisture. And so what we're going to do now we know how much mushrooms are actually in there and not liquid. Now we're going to season. If we would have seasoned before, there's a chance of over seasoning because a lot of our liquid would have gone away. And so all that we're going to do now is we're going to add our dry stuff. We're going to add our sun-dried tomatoes. We're going to add our rehydrated mushrooms. And actually, you know what we're going to do right now is we're going to take all of this, this rehydrating liquid that has all that flavor in there, and we're going to add this too. And that's going to help rehydrate those sun-dried tomatoes a little bit. Be careful flipping things that have liquid in them because they have a tendency to come back towards you, especially tomato sauce. Learned that the hard way, like one of my first days actually cooking in a restaurant. So I am going to let this rehydrate for a minute. And actually, while it rehydrates, I'm just going to add a little bit of pepper. And then I'll see in a minute when that liquid is gone. Almost all of our liquid is gone. And so all I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my spinach. And I think I need a bigger boat. I think I need a bigger pan. But I'm going to throw some... It's already turning out to be too small. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to basically... I'm going to turn off my heat because I don't really need heat anymore. So I'm going to wilt some spinach. And you can see how quickly the spinach is getting wilted. And while I do this, I'm going to add a little bit more salt. I am going to taste it before I start filling it. Now you see how it doesn't look like enough, so now we add a little more. And the burner is off, but it's still cooking. And so all that we're going to do is we are going to keep moving this around until we think it's wilted enough. And then we're going to move it to a sheet pan to cool it down. Because we don't want that spinach to get overcooked, which is why we added it last. And this is looking pretty good. Maybe just a tad more. So I did make way too much filling for the amount of chicken that I have. But I had the ingredients around, and stuff like this, I love to keep in the fridge because it makes great omelets. You can add it to pastas. This is the kind of like thing that you don't mind having around, because in a restaurant, this is what your specials would be made out of. Okay, I could add a little bit more spinach. I feel like this is pretty good right here. There's a good mix of colors. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lay it out on a sheet pan, and I'm gonna throw it, I'm gonna wait till it cools down a little bit, and then I'm gonna throw it in the fridge to cool it off so it doesn't cook our chicken. See you in a minute. Here is my filling that, basically, you just want to cool it down to you can touch it. Because if you can touch it and not get burned, that means it's not going to cook the meat. What we are going to do now is I'm going to add my locatelli that I shaved earlier. I'm going to mix that around. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to put some of this mixture aside. Because like I said earlier, I have extra mixture. And the last thing I want to do is be touching chicken and then my filling and then chicken and then my stuffing and then have extra stuffing that I'm just going to keep around for a while that has chicken juices on it. So I'm going to put a little bit aside, and then I'm going to teach you 2 different ways to stuff chickens, and I'll explain why in a minute. I have about half of my filling, and so I bought some chicken breasts that were bone on, and I just like the bone on chicken breasts, and I got them for like $1.80 a pound, which is really good for chicken breast. The only thing that they didn't say is that some would be really nice size, and then some would be really kind of puny. And so we're going to make it work. I'm going to show you 2 different ways to fill them. So first thing that we're going to do is describe how we're going to fill this. So there is obviously always the large part and the thin part. And so you also have the center of the breast where it meets the other one and the keel bone. And then you have down here, which is where where it meets the wing. Well, the nice thing about where it meets the wing is it has this like kind of like opening. And so my goal here is to make a slice from about here to about here. And then I'm going to put my knife in, and then I'm going to put my knife in like here, and I'm just going to run it down like this, and I'm going to make a pocket, and then I'm going to pull it out. But you have to know how thick your chicken is, and you also have to know whether your chicken has a tender in here or not. Now, normally in a restaurant, I would rip this off and, you know, put it on the side or in the freezer for like, you know, kids' chicken fingers or something. Except here, I don't know what I would do with it. So I'm just going to leave it on. So I have to take into account that that is there. I like moving it to the center, to the front of the board, to the edge, because then my knuckles don't hit the front of the counter. I'm going to try and keep it centered a little bit because I'm doing this on camera. See how this works out? You're going to keep your hand flat like this, and just so you don't like stab yourself, because that would be really bad. And all that I'm going to do is I'm going to start in here, and you can see I'm going to just shallow, almost, I don't want to say stabs, but like shallow slices. And if I was to take it out, like that's how far I'm in the chicken to the other side. And so all I'm going to do is continue making this pocket, and you can slice down. And if you come out the bottom side, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it matters, but it doesn't matter, because what's going to happen is that is not going to be facing the customer. Okay, so you can see that, like, I can feel my knife through the chicken, and I'm right there, so I know that that's how far down I am. And so at this point, I have a nice pocket that I'm going to fill with my stuffing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this to all the chicken first, and then I'm going to go full dirty hand at the moment, because at the moment, you know, I'm doing multiple things. So, and also need to remember to season it. So I'll see you in a minute. So I cut pockets in all the chickens, but before I go dirty hand, I wanted to show you this. So this is that really small boy that we had. And so I'm going to show you the alternative way to do this. And when you watch a lot of YouTube videos, this is how they show you to do it. I'm not a big fan of it. I think that if you do it this way, that you need some kind of a binder. Cheese normally comes to mind when I think about that. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to almost like butterfly it open, and then stuff it, and then flip the flap back. So this is what they mean by butterfly. So you're going to start at the very top, and you're going to cut about 90% of the way through, doing the same kind of technique, except you're kind of cutting all the way down. And then and then basically you can like open it, and it kind of looks like a butterfly. And then I probably could get a little bit farther. You don't want to cut through, obviously. There you go. And then you're just going to shove it full of stuff and then put the flap over. But the problem is if you have a loose filling, it's just going to like pour out. And this one is going to look way nicer on the plate. And then you can even like slice it in half and like expose the center and blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'll see you in a minute. So we are ready to start filling our chicken. And I got to be honest with you, this is not my favorite part, is because I feel like I'm never getting enough stuffing in as possible. But really, all that you're doing is trying to like you're trying to fill it from the bottom first. So you're trying to get it way down in the bottom of the breast and just moving it towards the top and try and get an even amount of stuff. And this is really all that you're doing. The biggest problem is, one, like I said, getting it to the bottom. And the second would be ripping your chicken. Like if you, ripping the meat. So what would happen is if you push too hard or you're too close to the edge, it can literally bust the chicken open. And then that could be a problem. So as you see, like that's pretty full right there. And actually I might take that out. And then all I'm gonna do is I'm going to get that stuff off the side. I'm gonna try and reshape it so it looks nice. Maybe I'll take a little bit out. Because if you press down on it and it's falling out, it's gonna fall out in the pan. And so that looks pretty good. Get the excess off. And so we're gonna put that one aside. So we're gonna do, this is the way that most restaurants will do it. And then this is the home style one where we butterflied it. And this one is just super easy. It's just kind of, this one should really, like if I had ricotta cheese or even like mozzarella or fontina, that would be this, that's the way I would go with this one. And then so all you do is kind of, you hold it with one hand, and this might even be too much, and you kind of push it over with the other one. And every one that I've ever seen of people that do it this style, it's always hanging out like this. I personally think that this one looks better. Also, the problem with this one is how do you pan sear that without everything falling out? This is more of like a home style because like I'm just going to throw it on a sheet pan and throw it in the oven, and that is perfectly acceptable. Okay, see you in a minute. So I have my pan heating up, and so I am ready to cook the chicken. And it's actually the next day because I did not have time to do it the same day. But the nice thing is most of the time in restaurants, when you do this kind of stuff, you stuff a bunch and then you sell them within the next couple days, you know, like 2 days. So here it is. Here's my first chicken breast. I seasoned it. So salt and pepper, top and bottom. And you always sear the pretty side first. I don't care what kind of meat it is. Whatever side you are going to present to the customer. Oh, that's good. That side goes down first. And I'm going to put it kind of down in the corner because the top of the chicken is a little rounded. And so I want it to have a good sear. And I always, you can see how I'm like tilting my pan, and I'm just trying to get some oil down in the corner. And I'm using grapeseed oil. I like grapeseed oil because, let me turn that down a little bit, because it's a good, it can handle high heat and has a good, it doesn't have a flavor. Now this one I'm really scared about to put this in here, but this is like our home style one. So now all that we're going to do is we're just going to sear these off. And then I'm going to get my flash guard, and I will see you in a minute. It's been about 4 to 5 minutes cooking the chicken. The chicken, I'm actually cooking it on like medium low. So I'm on my range, which goes up to 10, I'm on 4, just so you have like a number. Like if you cook this on high, it will brown very quickly, but it won't render the fat out of the skin. Oh, that's looking pretty good. So you want to render some of the fat out of the skin so it gets nice and crispy. And I probably could have gone a little slower. Ooh, that's beautiful. A little slower and lower with it. This one. I'm going to try. Hold on. I think I need 2 hands for this. There we go. I'm going to put some stuff back inside. But yeah, so now what we're going to do is I have a oven set to 400 degrees, and I'm just going to put them in the oven for 8 minutes, and I'm going to check the internal temperature and see where we're at. See you in 8 minutes. So they were in the oven for 8 minutes, and so what we need to do is see if they are done. And so what you want to do is find your biggest one, so either this one or that one, and you're going to plunge your Insta-Read thermometer into the thickest part. In this case, though, it's going to be going into stuffing. And so it's important that the chicken is cooked and the stuffing is cooked. And if I look at the side, it says that we're still under 100 degrees. So we're not done yet. I'm gonna give it another 5 minutes and then we're gonna check it. So see you in 5. Chicken is looking good. It's been another 5 minutes. So we're just gonna give it another little test and see where we are at. Make sure that you don't grab the handle though, because it's been in the oven. So we are rounding 120, 130, and we're still at 130. Now we need to hit 165 because the stuffing has poultry juices on the inside. So see if I pull it out a little bit, the chicken is almost 165. So we probably have another 3 to 5 minutes. So I'll see you in another 5. Okay, so it has been another 5 minutes. And I can't find my thermometer. Okay, so it has been another 5 minutes. And so we're just gonna check the temperature. Check this guy over here this time. Make sure that he's up to temp. Climbing, climbing, climbing. I have a feeling that we're gonna be good. And so all that we're gonna do now is I'm gonna turn my oven off and that'll keep it warm. And then I am going to keep this in here while I plate up. And so when your chicken is done, that should be like the last key. I'm gonna get my veg ready and I am going to, my starch should already be ready. And then we're just gonna go from there, okay? And this chicken is looking great. And so we're at 160 right now, which is perfect because that carryover cooking is gonna just go a little bit and then we can plate right from there. So I'll see you when it's time. Okay, so here are my 3 different plate ups. And so all that I'm gonna do now is show you different ways to plate your chicken. I did not make a sauce with this one, but if I did, this is the time that I would put my sauce underneath my chicken. And so the first one that I did is I cut the chicken in half and you can see the filling. And so all I'm gonna do, and I'll do it on this one, is just set that one there. And now you can put it like this, or you can, whatever way you think is nice. And actually a sauce would have been really nice underneath this one. There we go. We'll do it like that. So you can see the outside and the inside. So that's one way to do it. And then another way to do it is, when you have a stuffed chicken breast, is just to serve the whole chicken breast, which could be just like that. And now I'm really disappointed in myself that I did not make a sauce. And then the last one, and I'll use the home style one for the last one. And so this one is like this. Now, if you notice in all of these different variations, the protein is always facing me because I am pretending that I am the customer and this is what the customer will see. And then we have our green beans, which we are just going to put at the back. Now, when you make green beans for your practical, I suggest that you order 10. And then this is appropriate. So you have that many. This one right here, you can kind of do the same. We'll just put them in the back. And you want to keep them kind of in order. You see me being kind of delicate with them because you don't want butter being smeared all over your plate. And then this one over here, if you wanted to create some height, you could always get some longer ones and just put them up here so they were resting up on your food, and that might make it a little bit nicer. And this is just 3 easy ways to plate. There's a lot harder ways to plate, but you can choose for yourself. So we have our stuffed chicken breast, we have our green beans, and then we have our mashed potatoes. And if you want to know how to make the green beans and the mashed potatoes, those 2 videos are also on my YouTube. I guess this is the point that I ask you to smash that like or subscribe or do all that fancy stuff. I'm not going to do that because this is for class. And yeah, you have to watch it. I'll see you in class. Things were legit. So I guess I do have a sauce.